Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Oakland Athletics are about to go extinct. This is the final series. Their final game will be a 12:37 Pacific Time start. And unfortunately, in a final FU to the fans of Oakland, they will not even be opening Mount Davis. I guess they didn't want to pay for the extra concession workers. Honestly, that's probably what it was, but it's just kind of weird. The final game at the Coliseum, you'd think it would be sold out. You would finally open Mount Davis, but they can't even do that. But it is sold out, the final game, and you've already got people grabbing seats, taking things. We saw when the Cleveland Browns left the city. Cleveland Municipal Stadium got ravaged, and I'm expecting something similar to that in Oakland. The gaslighting from John Fisher and the A's is just extraordinary when talking to their players about how safety is a major concern because, those evil fans, they're going to do something. They're going to be so angry. They're going to put your safety at risk. It's like blaming the victim. The A's fans obviously not happy, and it will certainly be interesting, that final game in Oakland, the day game, to see what happens. But I do want to talk about Oakland, the Coliseum, and then also Sacramento along with Las Vegas, because those are the major cities involved in this. When it comes to Oakland and the Coliseum, this is a stadium that should have gotten torn down over a decade ago, and it still has somehow survived. I would imagine it's going to be getting torn down within the next few years, you would expect, and it will likely be turned into some type of community park or maybe community fields. I know that's what they've talked about doing in the past, but that's just my expectation for the Coliseum. When it comes to Oakland, the city itself possibly getting an MLB team in the future, I would say it's basically a 0% chance. I understand their mayor was trying to push for them to potentially do some type of deal to where they would allow the team to be moved, but it would guarantee them an expansion team in the future. Looks like that's not going to be happening. You do have Portland making a major push for an expansion team. You've got Utah making a push for an expansion team, along with Nashville. Those are the three main cities that I'm watching when it comes to expansion teams in MLB. But in general, I don't see Oakland getting a team. They had plenty of opportunities to build a stadium. It looked like they were going to build one in the mid-2000s, but it has never happened. And when it comes to their ownership, I think it's very obvious. If MLB had a legit good commissioner, this team should have been a forced sale for sure. I mean, John Fisher is just, when you're that cheap, it's impossible to run a successful organization. And the owners should have just forced Fisher to sell the team to someone else years ago. Like he is just not fit to be an owner of a professional sports team. He's just too cheap. It is what it is. And he somehow still is the owner. And the team will be going to Sacramento. And I do not see Oakland getting a team in the future, at least in the short term. Now, when it comes to their move to Sacramento, we know they're going to the minor league ballpark. I did recently see an article that said that because of how hot it is in Sacramento in late June through all of July, they will be playing exclusively night games. And I believe that does include Sunday as well. So they'll be playing Sunday night games because of how hot it is. And they are installing turf that apparently has a cooling mechanism at the bottom to try and keep that under control. Now, when it comes to Sacramento, it is legitimately extremely hot. In July, it'll get up to like 110, 112 degrees there, and they're playing outdoors with virtually no awning or no shade or no anything. There's no renovations to where they're going to add more shade, which really surprised me, at least none that I've seen. And so they are getting a new clubhouse, they're getting new restrooms, they're getting more club spaces as well. But when it comes to that stadium that's going to be hosting an MLB team for 3 years at least, remember, they're talking about maybe 4 years now because of the situation surrounding the funding of the Las Vegas team. Look, when it comes to this ownership group, it's very clear they are extremely disliked. So it wouldn't shock me at all if we saw a few more twists when it comes to this potential move to Las Vegas. Apparently, they're around $300 million short. They're looking for some type of investor, and then they will break ground on the Las Vegas Stadium, but it just might take some extra time. When it comes to the Las Vegas Stadium, we know the recent renderings that were really, or I guess they're not really recent anymore, but the Sydney Opera House style renderings. Remember their first stadium renderings and how horrible they were? Well, they've got this new one, and even the newer one is terrible as well because the interior just looks like crap. I mean, it's not even a full rendering. It looks like it was just a cheaply done rendering. It's like everything they do is so cheap. I don't know. But no, they have these renderings, and this is what they plan on doing. So I would imagine this is what's going to be happening. MLB wants a team in Las Vegas. We know the NBA is going to have a team in Las Vegas. NFL already has a team in Las Vegas, and the NHL does as well. Everyone's going there, even though it is a transplant city. There's really no diehard fans there. I guess you could argue with the Golden Knights, they've done a decent job, the NHL team, but either way, this is a situation where it's kind of ironic how Oakland always struggled with attendance, but at least they had the diehard fans. You're just not going to find that in Las Vegas. It's just going to be it's like a corporate environment if they actually do build that Sydney Opera House dome-style stadium with a capacity of about 30,000, probably going to be expandable to like 35 or 38K. If they do actually build that, I hope that they make it a very hitter-friendly park. Because it seems like a lot of these stadiums, at least recently, like Marlins Park, they do the unfortunate thing where they have the fences really far back and then they have to move them in. Hopefully they just make it a really nice offensive park in Las Vegas. But I guess we'll have to see. The odds of it happening, I would imagine, are probably like 60 to 70% chance. If it doesn't happen, you could argue that Sacramento potentially could keep the A's there and build a brand new stadium. They did make a pitch back in the 90s to get a potential MLB team. They were going to build some type of multi-purpose stadium. They actually started the foundation of the build, which is unheard of, to have an MLB stadium get started and then abandoned during construction. That's basically never happened, but that happened in Sacramento in the 90s. They never ended up getting an MLB team, but you would figure they would have the first chance. If something happens to where Fisher has to sell the team, he can't come up with the funds to build the stadium in Las Vegas because they're already in Sacramento. If the fan base shows significant support, and let's be honest, the A's, they're a younger team. They obviously have not been good the past 2 or 3 years. They've been tanked completely, but they do have young players and they are showing improvements. It's not going to be hard for Sacramento to sell out basically all their games, considering the capacity of the minor league ballpark that they're going to is only around 10,000. The expandable standing room is around 14K. But we could be looking at a situation where we know that John Fisher is not liked by the league and by the fans. If a sale happens, which it seems like it's what everyone wants, could you see Sacramento being that first potential city, because they already have the A's, potentially trying to put together some type of group to build a new stadium there that very likely would have to be some type of dome or something, maybe a retractable roof, but even if it was a retractable roof, the roof would never be open, so it would probably make more sense to build a dome stadium there due to the heat. Either way, that could be something we could be looking at, or you could get them going elsewhere. Let's say the Las Vegas deal falls flat, and then they move to Nashville, or they move to Portland or Utah. Maybe they stay on the western side of the U.S., but that's also a possibility as well. So right now, it is for sure they are moving into the minor league ballpark. The Oakland Coliseum, I'm sure, will be demolished. There's really no need for it anymore at this point. It should have been demolished over a decade ago, but it is a very sad situation for the Oakland fans, considering if they would have gotten a new stadium in the mid-2000s, this would not be happening. This revolves around a lot of different things. Obviously, when it comes to the attendance, it's not the best, but the stadium is so bad, and this is the last multi-purpose stadium, and it's been the last multi-purpose stadium in MLB for a while now. It's just been a crazy outlier because the situation in Oakland has been so bad, and we know about Howard Terminal, and they tried to build that. It didn't happen. It would have been a really unique ballpark for sure, but unfortunately that fell through, and now at this point, here we are looking at the final home games for the Oakland Athletics, and it probably will be pretty ugly. They're probably going to take a bunch of seats. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't think it'll get too bad or anything like that, but it is the final game, and obviously the fans are not going to be happy about that, considering their team is legitimately leaving their city for good, and I do not think there certainly is not a plan in place to give Oakland a team in the future, because we do know MLB will be expanding, but I would imagine Oakland is going to be a really long shot to be getting a team. Either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.